Wow. Wow. I mean, I saw this and was like, oh, they're going to go to war. And I'm not talking about the league versus the players. I'm talking about the players versus the players. The old players that are past their rookie contracts, oh, they're going to be big pissed about this. They're going to have their feelings hurt.
Look at that reaction closely. That's not excitement. That's the tone of someone who just recognized a chess move they never anticipated. Because the WNBA has just made a decision that's about to split this players' union straight down the center. This is no longer league versus players. Now, it's players versus players. And those fault lines? They cut directly through every locker room across the league.
Get paid now. WNBA's new CBA offer boost pay, fast tracks max deals for stars like Caitlin Clark. The AP broke this, folks. The WNBA sent a new CBA proposal to Players Union Sunday night that includes allowing some of its young stars, like Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers, a chance to earn a maximum salary quicker.
Here's what dropped late Sunday night. The WNBA delivered a proposal to the Players Union that completely reshapes who actually profits from this new CBA. And it's brilliant, in the most calculated and ruthless way imaginable. They're presenting Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and Aaliyah Boston with a fast track to maximum contracts years sooner than the current structure permits. We're talking 2027 for Clark, 2028 for Beckers, and as soon as this year for Boston. But here's the twist that has veteran players absolutely furious right now. To even qualify, you must earn first or second team all-league honors while still on your rookie deal. That's an extremely narrow circle of players. The young superstars who are genuinely shifting ratings, the ones driving the revenue that's powering this entire negotiation. And if you're a veteran who's spent 8 seasons grinding through the lean years, carrying the league while the WNBA posted losses year after year, this proposal does absolutely nothing for you.
Overall standpoint, I see what the league has done here. The salary cap in the first year would be $5.75 million, up 280% from $1.5 million. Think about that, folks. Now, it was 5.65. But let's just look at that. This is the first article I've seen since all this started that put this in a percentage. These players are pushing back on what has very obviously been over 200% increase in salary cap for quite some time. Listen to this next part, folks. That would grow to $8.5 million by the 6th year of the deal.
Let's break down the actual numbers, because this is where it becomes staggering. The salary cap doesn't just rise. It explodes from $1.5 million to $5.75 million in year one. That's a 280% increase, not 28%, but 280%. By year 6 of this agreement, teams will be operating with an $8.5 million cap. Maximum salaries surge from $249,000 to $1.3 million. The average salary leaps from $120,000 to $540,000 in the very first year alone. These aren't modest bumps or incremental raises. This is generational wealth materializing almost overnight for the players who meet the criteria under the new system. But pay attention to what the league refused to adjust: revenue sharing. They're standing firm at 70% of net revenue, with that percentage increasing as the league expands. Meanwhile, the union reduced its demand from 50% of gross revenue all the way down to 26% of gross in its most recent counterproposal. That gap alone tells you exactly where the true negotiating leverage sits right now.
$1 million from $249,000 to $1.3 million, average increasing from $120,000 to $540,000 in the first year. So these two are in the first year of the new CBA. The league didn't make changes in its revenue sharing model from its previous offer. They're not budging on the revenue sharing. They're now looking at other avenues to give these players money and leave the proposed at the current situation 70% of net revenue, with that number going up as the league continues to grow.
Now watch Kelsey Plum's wording here, because it's fascinating. Kelsey Plum is the vice president of the union, so every single word carries weight. She describes securing revenue sharing as a significant win and says they fought extremely hard to achieve it. Then she adds this carefully crafted line, "I've always been somebody that said focus on the game and not the gap." That's a noticeable shift from the hardline stance we heard just 2 weeks ago. That's the tone of someone who has seen the 2025 revenue sharing check and has already calculated what 2026 and 2027 could look like with Caitlin Clark playing full seasons. Because here's what truly changed the equation. The league just distributed $8 million in revenue sharing bonuses from last season, the first time in its history that's happened. Split among approximately 144 players, that works out to roughly $33,000 to $50,000 per player as a bonus, added on top of their base salary.
I brought this up earlier. Once they got the revenue sharing payment, attitude started flip-flopping over to the league. The players are looking at this and going, wow, if we got $8 million in revenue share from 2025 when Caitlin Clark was out the majority of the season, then is that number going to jump to $12 million in 2026 and then $18 million in 2027? There's got to be a way that they got projections on the revenue sharing bonus now that they've entered it. All right, so I think I figured up that players might have gotten somewhere in the neighborhood of like a $40,000 bonus, something like that.
And right there, that's the moment of clarity. Players are sitting in their living rooms right now, calculators open, running projections. If $8 million in revenue sharing came from a season where Caitlin Clark only played half the year because of college, what does that figure become in 2026? 12 million? 15? And what about 2027, when expansion teams officially launch and the new media deals begin to activate? Are we talking about $20 million revenue sharing pools? That could translate into $150,000 bonus checks per player. That's the carrot. The league is painting a picture of a future where revenue sharing bonuses could eclipse base salaries, as long as no one derails the momentum with a strike or a lockout. And it's working. You can hear it in Kelsey Plum's tone. The urgency to demand 50% of gross revenue has faded because the actual deposits hitting their bank accounts are finally starting to feel real.
Between 33 and 50,000 per player. So they may be sitting back looking, well, in 3 years, are we about to get a bonus of $200,000, $300,000 with the way this is going? If we don't blow it and strike or get locked out. That's hilarious. They offered the younger players max contracts sooner. Oh, you know them old players are mad as hell.
But now we get to the part igniting absolute chaos in group chats all across the league. The WNBA took a long, calculated look at its roster and made a strategic choice. They asked one simple question: who truly moved the needle? Who brought in the viewers that triggered that $8 million revenue sharing payout? And then they designed an offer that specifically rewards those players, while everyone else simply benefits from the rising tide. Veterans who have been in the league since 2016, grinding through seasons when the WNBA was losing $10 million per year, don't receive accelerated max contracts. They receive the same salary cap increases as the rest of the field, but the 22-year-old rookie who's selling out arenas and drawing 3 million viewers per game? She's positioned to secure a maximum contract 3 years earlier than the previous system would have allowed.
I don't blame the league. Those players didn't move the needle at all. They didn't help you make nothing. Nothing. You kept losing money. I mean, let's be honest. So the league is taking care of the players that they know is going to earn them actual money in the league.
The strategic precision here is almost uncomfortable to admit. Adam Silver and Kathy Engelbert examine the cracks already running through this union, the tension between the players who laid the foundation and the players now benefiting from mainstream momentum, and they press directly into that fault line. Because when the union gathers to vote on this proposal, you've got Caitlin Clark and Paige Buecher staring at $1.3 million max contracts in 2027 and 2028. You've got Aaliyah Boston eligible for that max number as soon as this year. Meanwhile, veterans in their late 20s are looking at identical percentage bumps as everyone else, while watching rookies leapfrog them in long-term earning power. So, how does that vote unfold? What happens when Aya Wilson and Breanna Stewart sit in a union meeting alongside players who stand to personally gain millions from this exact structure? Do they vote no, push for revisions, and risk eliminating the accelerated max contract pathway? Or do they vote yes, knowing the league is financially rewarding the players currently driving revenue, even as their own earning window narrows? This is precisely the outcome the league was aiming for. They took the debate over who deserves credit for the WNBA surge, the arguments about whether Caitlin Clark receives disproportionate attention, the friction surrounding media coverage and marketing dollars, and transformed all of it into a collective bargaining strategy. They positioned the union to negotiate against itself. And you can see the shift happening in real time. The rhetoric has moved from firm demands for 50% of gross revenue to Kelsey Plum emphasizing focus on the game, not the gap, and labeling 70% of net revenue a significant victory. That's not the tone of a union bracing for a strike. That's the tone of a union preparing to sign. The players received their first real revenue-sharing checks, tangible money deposited into their accounts. Now they're projecting forward, imagining what those payments look like when league revenue climbs to $500 million instead of $200 million. The league showed them the future, and that future appears more appealing than conflict. But here's the unspoken reality. This CBA framework doesn't just create a financial divide between rookies and veterans, it creates a philosophical one. If you benefit from the accelerated max contract clause, you're invested in the league's current direction. You want Caitlin Clark drawing record audiences. You want media focus centered on the stars who move ratings. You want a structure that rewards individual star power, because you are one of those stars. If you're a veteran who endured the overlooked years, who competed when public attention was minimal and revenues were thin, you're watching a two-tier system take shape. Your contributions are valued at one level, theirs at another. And the difference isn't symbolic, it's millions over a career. The WNBA is wagering that the players who gain from this system will outvote those who don't. They're betting that projected revenue-sharing growth keeps everyone at the table long enough to secure signatures. And once it's signed, they're counting on financial incentives to align players with league priorities rather than in opposition to them. So when this CBA is finalized, and it likely will be, watch the narrative shift. Listen for how often players echo the league's message about rising tides lifting all boats. Notice whether criticism of media pattern softens among those now earning max contracts because of those same dynamics. The league didn't merely negotiate terms, they purchased alignment. They converted potential resistance into shared interest. And they did it by forcing their most marketable players to weigh solidarity against life-changing money. That's not just sharp negotiation. It's a deep understanding of human nature. So, yes, something unexpected happened. The league executed a genuinely clever maneuver, and the players' union is about to discover whether solidarity withstands the pull of transformative wealth. My prediction? The agreement is signed within 3 weeks, framed publicly as a win for all, but the veterans who feel sidelined will remember. And that memory may resurface during the next CBA talks, especially if they're still competing, still watching rookies fast-tracked to max contracts while they settle for incremental gains. The real question isn't whether this deal gets done, it's whether the fractures it creates ever fully close. When Caitlin Clark signs that max contract in 2027, will veteran players celebrate it as a collective victory, or view it as confirmation that some contributions are valued more than others? That tension could define the WNBA for the next decade.